F1 Academy had a unique triple header in Montreal last weekend, and it had a bit of everything. From title drama to exceptional newcomers, the Women's Series just keeps delivering. Hello and welcome, fellow motorsports fans. This one will be a bit of an F1 Academy special, but of course we'll also go through all of the American racing and have a little chat about Kimi Antonelli. So let's get straight to it. In F1 Academy, my highlight of the week was without a doubt young Emma Felbermayr. I've been talking about her since her excellent karting season last year, and she really found some great form in Montreal. Sure, her maiden podium did get robbed with a post-race DQ, but she more than made up for it by fighting her way to the lead to take her first ever win in the second race. And crucially, it wasn't the she's a cork in the bottle but kinda learned to hang on kind of performance that have characterized her sprint races so far. Instead, she was properly on the attack, pulling off overtakes left, right and centre. In fact, she did so in all of the 3 races. And I know I say it every time, but keep in mind that she is literally the only girl on the grid without a previous year in a national F4 series. Truly outstanding if you ask me. It may be a bit too early to make these sorts of predictions, but in my opinion she'll be a key title contender next season, if not the outright favourite, depending on the team situation. To be fair, Rodin did have a good weekend all around, hence why last year's standout woman in British F4, McLaren-backed Ella Lloyd, managed to take a weird hat-trick of second places. Really good stuff as well, not just in terms of pace, but also a great job of staying out of trouble during the rather hectic and crashy racing happening around her. She was coming into this year as one of the more promising drivers, and so far I'd say she has largely lived up to it, even if Rodin hasn't always given her the tools to properly show that so far. Looking at the title battle, the key stories are of course Maya Wurth's disastrous engine issues, relegating her to start from the back in all the races, and the incidents that Campos duo Chloe Chambers and Alicia Pomowski kept getting into, including Pomowski crashing into her teammate by accident in race 1. Campos did look like the quickest package once again, as has been the story all season so far, but Dori Parr more than made up for it by keeping it clean, always in position to pick up the pieces when the incidents happened. And thus, she's now actually back in the lead. But make no mistake, this championship is still very tight, and the crashy nature of these races means anything can still happen. Although to be fair, the top 3 do look like the key favourites at this rate. I don't trust Rodin to keep this up for Lloyd, and Pomowski may have just lost a few too many points already, despite some great attacking drives to salvage something after her incidents. Same story for Wurth in that regard, by the way. Race 3 was particularly impressive, I thought. Let's look at some of the disappointments as well. I don't particularly like doing this, but it is a part of the game as well, isn't it? ART as a team has been quite the mess throughout the season, but this weekend did stand out as a case of missed opportunities. For once, the pace was actually good as far as I could tell. No offense, but Courtney Crone being a bit bad is no surprise at all. Not only is she too old for the gig, but also has no proper single-seater experience anyway, so she is doing about what I expected. It looks worse though for Aurelia Nobels and particularly Leah Block, although the latter did finally bring home some good results this weekend as well. Nevertheless, both are super hit or miss, and on top of that have a tendency to get into trouble, in this case wrecking together for maximum disaster levels. I had low-key hoped Block could find herself in the title battle this year, and that dream is dead and buried already with half the year still to go. On the bright side, if Block can keep up her form from this weekend, she can still very much finish the season on a high. And in similar fashion, I can't help but be a bit disappointed by Rafaela Ferreira at this point. I had pretty high hopes for her, given how great she looked at times over in the Brazilian F4. Unfortunately, she looks super anonymous while running for what appears to be the quickest team, watching her teammates fight for podium positions every race while barely getting near the points herself. Do not give up on her just yet though. If she returns next season, I've got a feeling she could look like an entirely different driver. And back to the positive notes with 2 shoutouts. First, Alba Larsen, back with some more great form and together with Felbermayr, truly the standout rookie of the grid. And while she has more experience, she is still the youngest competitor in the field and is already way more consistent than she has any right to be, I reckon. Also not shy to get an overtake then, definitely another one in our should be a title favorite next season kind of category. And last but not least, wildcard Mathilda Paatz. We've talked about her improved form over in the Central European F4, and she brought that to her F1 Academy debut as well, firmly outshining her two high-tech teammates every step of the way, despite no proper results to show for it. It was a sort of drive that might have gone overlooked by many, but in my opinion she was not only the best wildcard so far, which admittedly is a bit of a low bar anyway, but has immediately shown that she should be a part of this grid next season. To be entirely honest, I kinda expected her to be here for this season already anyway. In F1, we had a pretty nice slow burner of a race. Just a bit sad we didn't quite get the exciting finish it looked to build towards once Norris crashed into Piastri. Lando Norris crumbling a bit under pressure and costing himself big points for no reason is of course the major talking point from a championship POV, but I will still focus on the very guy whose brilliance made me launch this channel in the first place. Young Kimi Antonelli, who is now officially the third youngest podium sitter just before the halfway point of the season. And as someone who's been talking about the guy for years at this point, he is really living up to my very high expectations so far. Yeah, I may have hoped he'd be pushing Russell a bit more in qualifying at this point, but to be honest, that was probably both me being a bit optimistic and forgetting just how exceptional Russell himself is in quali. Anyone who had expected Antonelli to be faster with his race pace has probably forgotten that he has barely done any longer races in his career. I really think only spending a single season on the international bit of the ladder must put you on the back foot in terms of managing the Pirellis. And I'm sure a confidence boost like this podium will only accelerate his development. Still hoping he puts it on a proper pole position later in the year. That, I think, is pretty realistic. I assume the kind of people that are invested enough in the feeders to watch my channel probably were high on Antonelli anyway, but in case there are any previous doubters watching, has he changed your mind yet, or do you need to see a bit more? Let us know down in the comments. Staying on the North American continent, but now with some actual American racing. Formula Regional Americas had its Indianapolis round with a pair of solid races and a rain-related cancellation. Looking at the rather close title battle, I can't help but mention another shit luck moment for Titus Sherlock. He must have really broken all the mirrors before this season or something. Mechanical DNF from win contention in race 2, but at least it did give him the opportunity to show some overtaking skills by charging from the back in race 3. Otherwise, Nicolas Ambiado and Bruno Ribeiro continued as the consistent threats in the lead pack. Gun to my head, Ambiado was probably looking like the quickest man all around. Nevertheless, Jet Bowling has by now firmly inserted himself in the title battle as well with a clean win and a second on top. Definitely the most improved driver from last season if you ask me. He had shown flashes of brilliance in the first couple rounds as well, but I have to admit I wasn't fully buying it until now. In contrast, Brady Golan did have a bit of a shocker this time out, although in his case it always comes with the caveat of not running for the dominant team, so his performances are really difficult to read into. After the previous round, I said if any of the F4 USA graduates will join the frontrunners, my money would be on Nicolas Stati. Turns out, that was a proper good prediction for once, and it didn't even take him until later in the season. Stati was a firm part of the 5-car lead pack across both races this time out. I reckon he definitely deserves a bit of a shout out for that one. IndyNXT gave us the first look of Dennis Hauger on an oval, and it showed both strength and a little room for improvement. As a clear strength, he immediately showed excellent raw pace. Putting it on pole really speaks for itself here. But it turns out experience is important on the ovals after all. Tire wear ended up as the deciding factor of the surprisingly uninterrupted race, allowing Lockie Hughes to go on a mental charge to the win late in the race. I don't know if both Hauger and Colette were just banking on a couple of safety cars with their management strategy or something, but either way, it did end up costing them. I'm sure Hauger will not make that particular mistake twice though. Aside from that, we really didn't get too much new intel. Our regular lead group is by now firmly established. The most remarkable feature was maybe that Josh Pearson was once again a proper part of that, continuing his fantastic trajectory this season. And I guess we can congratulate Miles Rowe for a new personal best by scoring P2 for himself. And one thing to highlight, Lockie Hughes is still super close in the standings to Dennis Hauger, very much in the sort of range where a single DNF could make or break the title fight. Just wanted to point that out for everyone who rightfully expected the title to only be a formality for the Norwegian. For IndyCar proper, I don't have a whole lot to say this week if I'm honest. We've had a rather fitting duel for the win between Pato O'Ward and Kyle Kirkwood, the battle that has since become the most interesting one in the championship as the pair is fighting for P2. Honda still just about undefeated might be the most noteworthy thing to come out of this race. In past seasons, it felt pretty much pointless to even pay attention to engine manufacturers, but ever since the introduction of the hybrid, it has been rather one-sided. Although I do think McLaren has been showing that Chevy has a more than adequate package as well, considering what both Ward and Christian Lundgaard have been doing so far. And there was of course another piece of evidence. At Carpenter Racing, once again rocking up with a strong oval package, giving a rapid-looking Christian Rasmussen the opportunity to score his first ever podium. Rasmussen has earned his fair share of criticism so far, and rightfully with the incidents he has been getting into, but I felt like his pace has been underrated for a while now. I mean, just look at how much veteran Alex Rossi has been struggling as well. It certainly isn't the best package to impress on the road courses, but that should not affect your opinion of Rasmussen, I reckon. Really, it only has been that slightly incident-prone nature that I started getting annoyed with personally. Alex Palou being a bit absent was quite a surprise, but of course his title is still looking rather secure for the time being. Instead, a quick shout out for Robert Schwartzman, finally getting a decent result for Prema, Indy 500 pole aside of course, by taking home a P10. All things considered, quite a strong showing. But enough rambling on about single-seaters for the week. Instead, let's look at the ROTAX Euros in our quick weekly karting report. The ROTAX Euro Trophy's second round happened 2 weeks ago, and I promised last time we'll talk about it, so here we go. It was proper wet action all day long on Sunday, making for some quite action-packed racing. In the minis, pole sitter Leo Livings and round 1 winner Alfie Mayer both had a bit of a rough time, at least compared to last time, while instead Emerson McAndrew-Uren took the win in a close late race duel against Riley Murrow. Both looked a step above the pack, but I was glad to finally see Uren take a big win. He has always been a solid competitor in his age bracket, but did get overshadowed on the international stage by season dominator Olby Friend. The latter having moved up, it might finally be Uren's place in the spotlight this year. Talking about Olby Friend, the juniors produced a surprisingly settled race, with the drivers presumably more occupied with keeping their karts on the grey bits as opposed to fighting each other. Friend is unfortunately still struggling a bit in the bigger chassis, but we did get a somewhat familiar look at the front with one key twist. It was a Dan Holland Racing final from start to finish, with Cole Denham, reigning ROTAX World Champion Jacob Ashcroft and Matti Kubakidze dominating the field. And to my surprise, it was in fact Matti Kubakidze who turned out to be the fastest man, eventually working his way past Dan Holm to take lead and victory. The Georgian driver has really found another level so far this season, yet another bit of improvement compared to the first round of the season, and he was already a bit of a breakout driver there if I remember correctly. Keep in mind that all the protagonists from this series will be the big favorites for the ROTAX World Finals at the end of the year as well, so definitely keep an eye on Kubakidze. And in the seniors, it was once again a fantastic run from Macaulay Bishop, a name you're all hopefully familiar with by now. For my money, still the most talented guy currently competing in this particular class. I'd like to highlight a rookie among the seniors though, Dutchman Thies van Wijk. He may have ultimately lost the podium in the closing stages of the race, but still makes it 2 out of 2 good weekends so far. Presumably a name we'll see at the sharp end of this class for quite a while, and I'm all here for it. And he is even still in this year's title fight, at least on paper. As you can see, at the halfway point of the year, things are still super wide open for the seniors. My money is on Bishop, but I wouldn't count out any one of the top 5 or 6 just yet. And that was already it for the week. Next week, we'll be back to a super busy schedule. Just a fair warning in advance, I might not be able to cover it all, as I'll also be a bit busy outside of racing. So if there is a particular series you absolutely want to see covered, please feel free to let me know down in the comments, along with all of your other thoughts and opinions about this week's racing action. And otherwise, I thank you all for watching, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.